What's up and good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video here on the 7.3 Power Stroke Restoration. If you didn't catch the last video, we went ahead and wet sanded and polished this whole thing out into a mirror finish, which looking back at it now, I can see a couple spots like right up in here that need a little more attention, but overall I think it came out pretty good, and that'll just be a quick little bit of extra buffing and this thing will look perfect. So with that being said, today I want to go ahead and tackle this bed liner. It's pretty warm out here. It's like 70 degrees. And right now there's whatever solar eclipse going on everyone's freaking out about. So the traffic's been crazy getting home. So with that being said, though, it'll be nice and warm and not a lot of wind, which is perfect because I'm going to do this outside since I don't know how bad the overspray is going to be in here with something like this. And I did see a lot of guys draping plastic sheeting from the roof of their house garage, but this is way too tall in this barn to do that, so I'm just gonna have to do it outside. So without further ado, I guess let's get this thing pulled outside and we'll start getting it ready. All right, so now that we have it outside, I'm going to talk about the first step, which yesterday I went ahead and power washed all the dirt out that was in here. And then also check this out. So this is a 2011 to 2016 bed on obviously a 2000 Super Duty. And you would think they would at least fit the same, but that's unfortunately not the case. I had to modify that hole, so it's going to look a little janky, but that's okay since we actually have a rubber floor mat to throw in here. So you're gonna notice most of these bed bolts are out, and that's because I don't want a bed line over the bed bolts, because then if I ever need to take the bed off in the future, I won't be able to. So the two that are in it, I'm just gonna have to use some masking tape to hold that washer up so I can get under there. And then all these other ones, I'll just stuff some masking tape down in the hole to keep those threads clean. So without further ado, I guess let's start sanding this. I'm going to be using 180 grit. It says you can use between 80 and 180, so you could also use 150 if that's what you had. The reason I'm going to be using 180 is because it's less abrasive, and I want to burn through this as minimum as possible, because anywhere you burn through, you do have to throw some etch prime on there. It says over the bare metal spots, so I'm going to try to minimize that. And then I'm also going to hit this area up with the scuff pad. All right, so now we have all this sanded. I went ahead and taped up all our bolt holes like I needed to. And then I scuffed it all up good too. And then I unpeeled the tape. You're gonna want a fresh tape line when you do that, not one that's been scuffed against. And then basically all I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna tape off this top rail here, tape down where I need, and then we're gonna throw our plastic sheeting over it, which I'll show you guys that. This is just basic from Painter's Supply. Just plastic sheeting that'll go over this whole thing, and then we'll trim it out with the razor blade as needed around our edges. And I'm going to tell you guys one thing you should do: get yourself some normal painter's tape, and then this is the thinner stuff. And what you're going to want to do is actually, like, if we want to tape right here, we're going to tape it with the thick stuff a little further back, and then run a fine line on this at the end. That way, the second I'm done spraying this bed liner in, I could just unpeel that piece while it's still wet without having to untape the whole thing, and that'll prevent leaving a hard edge that's going to want to bridge when you take it off. It might take some bed liner with it if you let it dry all the way. So that's my reasoning behind that. So I guess anyway, let's get this thing taped up. And also, you can see that front rail of that bed is all dented to heck. So this is actually off the first truck I ever had, the 96 Power Stroke, and it fits perfect on this. So all I did is I used my 180 to sand that as good as I could and scuffed it. And actually, while I'm taping this up, I'm going to go ahead and clean this with wax and grease remover. I'm going to clean that bed too after it's taped. But if I get this clean, that means while I'm taping, I'll be able to start giving it some coats of etch primer. All right, so as you can see, we got the bag on here loosely. I went ahead and run the tape around it to try to hold it down. And I'm gonna be honest, it's only 5 mile an hour winds right now, but this is still no fun at all. If you have a means of doing this inside, I would 100% advise that you do so, because it is a very, very tedious job using plastic like this outside, as I'm sure you could tell by the video. So right here, this is just some self-etching primer. You can use any kind of self-etch primer. This isn't a specific brand that I like or anything, but you're gonna want to give this a real light dust coating and wait like 10 minutes between coats. Give it 2-3 light coats, and then when you're done, you gotta wait 45 minutes, and then you can paint over it. All right, here's the completed tape job. I went ahead and threw a piece of tape up there too to keep that from blowing around. Now that we got everything covered up, I luckily didn't have that many burn throughs. I didn't really go too crazy with the actual scuffing in here, just because it's just a bed liner. So I went ahead and just buzzed over it real quick. So I don't really have any burn throughs. But any of these little spots, I'm just gonna go ahead and get touched up with just one light coat will be good for this. And then we'll let this sit for 45 minutes. If I didn't already mention, I went ahead and cleaned this out right before I started spraying this right now with some wax and grease remover and a rag. And that'll be good enough. Also right here, this will be coat number 3. And then we'll let this stuff sit for a little bit. And I'm actually gonna go over this piece here with a couple coats of Rust-Oleum spray paint, just for some extra coverage, hopefully. This stuff isn't really the best for this, and who knows how long this is gonna last, but this is just to hide them dents, so I'm sure it'll be okay. All right, I'll see you guys in about 45 minutes. So right here we got everything out of the box, and looks like here's our hardener and then our actual bottles. It says on here to only mix up one at a time, probably because it'll dry in the can. And it looks like it's pretty straightforward on here, 3-to-1 mix ratio, which I'm gonna assume you probably fill this up to that line and dump it in. That's pretty self-explanatory. And then looks like we just gotta shake it up and spray. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a couple coats of this filler primer on here and let this sit for maybe, I don't know, 10-20 minutes, and then we'll start spraying. My plan is I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna get some flip-flops on so I can walk in here with just socks so the dirt from my shoes doesn't get everywhere, and spray from the front, work my way back, and then I can go back to normal shoes and let it sit for maybe 10 minutes or so. I'll have to read the instructions, and then do the drop coat where it's from far away to give it that gritty texture. And some point in the middle of that, I'll do this. I plan on doing this in some light coats just to see if that helps, because I know with normal car paint, if you have stuff like this where what's under it isn't the best, you want to go light coats on it to start, and it helps it not want to lift. So I'll get back to you guys once I got 2 coats of this on there and it's dry. Right here's our gun that it comes with. This is just a disposable one. Use it and probably throw it out when you're done, because the next kit, if you ever do it again, will come with another one. Really simple to screw together. On the bottom here, I went ahead and got my fitting with this. Is just a Harbor Freight water separator. I'm not sure how much it even does, but it's probably better than nothing. And then right here's our dial for pressure. It says on the kit a specific number of pressure. I think it's like 40 to 50 PSI. I'm just gonna go off a sound though and get it close enough, because I'm not gonna go buy a regulator over this. I'm sure it's not that important. It's just gonna change the texture depending on the pressure. So with that being said, I'm gonna get this mixed up, get our respirator on, and we'll start spraying. right, so here's how we're looking. It's still wet, so it's gonna look a lot different when it dries. But that went on really easy. Went in, got one good wet coat on it, and then after I had everything fully covered, I had a whole extra bottle to do a drop coat, and it didn't even probably take half of that. So it comes with plenty of material. We got a nice good build on here, and I think it's looking pretty good. Especially, it's gonna look even better once it dries. So now this is where what I told you guys earlier is gonna come in handy. While this is still wet and shiny, we could peel back the edge of our tape here and have that nice clean line. Just tack it over there, it'll be fine. And the rest of this we're gonna untape after it fully dries. It says it's dry to the touch in an hour, so I'll probably start carefully untaping in an hour, or probably more than that. I'll probably wait like an hour and a half. And all I'm gonna do is untape what I could get from out here. All the stuff like this I'm gonna leave for a few days because I don't wanna walk on this an hour after spraying. I'm just trusting it enough to actually go ahead and untape the edges. So right now it is 70 degrees out, so this should dry decently quick. And right there we go. We got a nice clean edge. It didn't bridge because we took it off while it was wet. And here's how that upper piece came out, which if this holds up and it doesn't chip or crack later on, then that's gonna really tell me that this is a good product, because that's probably not the right way to do that. It probably should have had real primer out of the gun and been sanded after and all that. But yeah, check it out. So I'm gonna let this sit for a little bit and then I'll bring you guys back. All right, now we have the finished product. It's been a solid 3 hours later, and I'm thinking this is about what it's gonna look like permanently. So honestly, really nice. You can see all the imperfections in the bed. A lot of people say, oh, well, you know, you'll still see the dents. I don't care about that. I just, before the bed in here is white, and now it's not white anymore. I wasn't gonna go do a bunch of body work and paint it green with all them coats. By the time, you know, you got to do 3 coats of base, sealer, clear, all that. I don't know how you would even do it other than standing the bed up this way. Tape it up, scuff it, throw this on there, and I got this nice looking coating in here now. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one.